So hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm Glennon Andrews with PKWARE. I lead new business development for the company, and we're really excited to talk to you today about this Atakama opportunity for our partners. So we did a session a couple of weeks ago with Atakama. For those of you that may be aware or not, Atakama is sunsetting their MFE encryption product. It's file level encryption. They looked for another vendor to be able to take over that their customer base and be able to provide that file level encryption. PKWARE was chosen as the official partner for this because we do have this seamless transition that we're really excited about. We've already closed an opportunity in about the last 8 to 10 days. The total deal life was 10 days from the introduction to being able to close that. We've got multiple more. So today's session, we did one with Atakama that was more client focused. But today we want to empower our partners to do more. So this information will be more directed to you. We can share that other webinar that's more customer focused. We can share that with you so you can pass that on to your customers. But we are very excited to share this with you today. I have Stephen Gao leading. He leads on our partner side, and then also he is a rep for us in the Midwest. And I have Ben Myers on, who leads our services delivery both for pre-sales and post-sales. So he's going to be, and his team will really be the ones that seamlessly execute this conversion from Atakama to PKWARE. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Stephen to do an introduction and kick things off for us.
Perfect. No, appreciate that, Glennon. So yeah, as Glennon mentioned, today's focus is on you, right? Our partners, and how you guys can be prepared to talk through how PK Protect serves as that seamless and trusted replacement for Atakama's multi-factor encryption. We should be able to answer most, if not all, of your questions today. So if you do have any, feel free to put that in the chat. We'll be monitoring that, but we also have a few minutes at the end slotted for Q&A. But digging right into things, as many of you guys have already been made aware of, or if not, this is first time you're hearing it, Atakama has made the decision to sunset, as Glennon said, their multi-factor encryption solution. I'd say the most important date to bear in mind is going to be February 26th of 2026. That is the date that they will officially turn off that platform. So Atakama and PKWARE, we started talking and got into the weeds and decided that in the best interest of their existing encryption customers, PKWARE was selected as the trusted replacement, as Glennon mentioned, right? So during this call, we will show you why this decision, at least from our standpoint, right, was an easy one to make from their side. We're going to show you why we were selected, but just to focus on that, keep in mind February 26th, that is the important date. So with all that being said, today's session is all about enabling you guys as our partners to capture the growing demand for encryption, as well as make the transition from Atakama multi-factor encryption to the PK Protect solution as seamless and valuable as possible. The way that I view this is a live competitive win and a real migration story that you guys will be able to leverage with your customers. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to cover today. Here is our roadmap for the next 20 minutes or so. We're going to have about 10 minutes slotted for Ben to take over and show the demonstration, as well as dig into what the replacement package and the implementation overview looks like. But we're going to show why PK Protect is that trusted replacement for the MFE solution by Atakama. We'll go through the encryption overview. As I mentioned, Ben will tackle that. But our goal is to arm you with the insights and talking points that you all need to win in this fast-growing market. So we're going to start then by grounding ourselves in why PKWARE is the right partner for this moment, right? PKWARE, we've been a leader in encryption and data security for over 40 years, right? Pointing out the elephant in the room, you may or may not be familiar with PKWARE as the creator of the PKZip file format way back in the day. So we have been compressing data since the mid-'80s for very large enterprises. Naturally, that has evolved into encryption. So protecting data back then, we have since evolved, right? This is a true and tested platform. We are not going anywhere. As you can see by some of these numbers, right? We're trusted by 21 of the top 25 US banks. PKWARE has been that trusted leader in data protection for over 40 years, serving some of the world's most regulated industries. Our technology is relied on by a majority of top banks, card processors, insurance companies all throughout North America. But I'd say our ability to adapt to evolving business needs, adding features throughout the years like discovery, classification, automation, that to me means we're not just keeping up, but we're leading that charge, right? So why was PK Protect selected as an Atakama replacement? Because we deliver that end-to-end data security at rest, in transit, in motion, everywhere that data travels, right? The market is not only accelerating, it's anticipated to grow significantly over the years. The encryption software market was valued at around 13.5 billion in 2024. It's projected to grow to over 30 billion by 2034. So encryption isn't that nice to have. It's now that budget line with a market tailwind, right? So let's not just try and take our words for it. We're going to kind of show you who trusts PKWare today. Our customers span from banking, financial services, insurance, healthcare, education, as well as government agencies. Names like JPMC, Wells Fargo, Visa, Farmers, right? Pfizer, Fidelity, Epic, and many more rely on PKWare to protect their most sensitive data. This breadth to me is proof that persistent automated protection, it is you know, that universal need across industries as well as many different use cases. No one is immune to cyber attacks anymore nowadays. Instead of back then where you might have had one or two potential ways, now there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways, right? So we're going to kind of transition this a little bit into talking about what exactly PKWare protects, but we wanted to paint that picture as far as who PKWare is, what we bring to the table, why we are trusted as that selected replacement, as well as just show we've been around, right? We're leaders in this industry. We know what's going on. We have a very solid roadmap, which does include quantum. So we're going to kind of tackle that as well. But as we kind of go through this, the entire PK Protect platform is more than encryption. Our goal in today's call is to talk through encryption, but did want to just highlight the entire PK Protect platform real quick. It's a unified platform for data discovery, classification, redaction, Microsoft 365 discovery and protection across your entire environment. So we're not going to dig too deep into that, but when encryption alone isn't enough, you might need, or your customers might need to know what to encrypt, where it is, what is a priority, right? PK Protect's integrated discovery and classification and the policy automation reduce those blind spots as well. So for you partners, that might mean quicker sales cycles, less friction in sales cycles, easier deployments, and more value to your customers. So we're going to talk about that now, which is the benefits that your customers will see across their entire environments with the PK Protect platform. So as you can kind of see right here, few benefits outlined. With that entire PK Protect platforms, your customers achieve that preemptive protection, ensure compliance. They can use this across everything, right? Microsoft 365, endpoints, servers, databases, cloud, hybrid, data lakes, even the mainframe, right? So that reduced friction allows you to introduce for end users and admins. They'll be able to see that adoption with PKWare across the entire environment. And then we're able to automate policy enforcement. We have key management, we have analytics. So your customers then get that robust protection with very, very minimal effort. To kind of highlight our three main platforms, I'll go through this pretty quick, but PK Protect for ZOS, many of the world's largest banks, insurers, government agencies still run on critical workloads on mainframes. So those systems often hold, what we call the crown jewels, that personal data, financial records, right? There can be a blind spot for modern security, especially in the data space with mainframes. PK Protect solves all of that with discovering sensitive data within mainframe environments, automatically applying encryption, masking, redaction, right? Without disrupting applications or batch jobs. Then we also have the PK Protect Data Store Manager. So your customers' structured data lives in databases, data warehouses, cloud storages, right? That data includes potentially customer records, payment information, healthcare data, right? You name it, trade secrets, right? But once it's been moved, copied, queried, sensitive informations or fields can leak and be exposed, right? So PK Protect Data Store Manager can integrate with all of that. It scans, it does everything that you need, and it can apply the right protection. So it does the data discovery and protection without breaking anything. So it's simple, it's quick, it's effective. And then our main focus today is going to be PK Protect Endpoint Manager. Endpoints are where sensitive data is created, downloaded, often exfiltrated, right? A single laptop or desktop with unencrypted files, that can be a breach waiting to happen. That's why we are here today. Your customers potentially are using Atakama, or you're here to look at new opportunities within your customer base for encryption, as it is that growing market, right? So we're going to kind of talk through that. But for us, we're able to provide protection. It can be automatic. It can be invisible to the end users, right? That result, your customers can prevent data loss from lost devices, insider threats, compromised accounts without slowing the employees down. So endpoint protection, it can be broad. It can be, a horizontal opportunity. Every single industry out there has laptops, desktops, there's hybrid work, that's where a lot of the risk lives now. But why does this matter to that real world, right? So let's go ahead and try and make this a little bit tangible. And we're going to start out with the realities. 71% of organizations experienced a cybersecurity incident in 2024. Average cost of that data breach around 4.9 million. That balloons in the US to over 10 million. These, to me, they're not abstract risk. This is the financial and reputational damage that your customers face today, and they're looking for solutions, or they're using Atakama and looking for that replacement solution, right? So this can be that growth market. For partners like you, it means that strong demand and recurring revenue. So we'll go through. Ben will be providing a demo in a few minutes as well to kind of show you where it is. But to kind of hone in on all of that with the entire environment protection that PKWARE is able to provide. Multi-environment breaches, as you can all expect, they're more costly. Data that moves between cloud, on-prem, hybrid is more exposed. Encryption that travels with that data, persistent encryption, helps maintain protection. I think it was around 30% of breaches spanned across multiple environments, around $5 million on average, right? That right there is exactly where encryption only persistent data protection matters the most. Protecting sensitive data isn't just about technology nowadays. As you can see here, it's about technology. It's about trust, compliance, that business continuality. Data breaches can erode customer confidence and damage brands. Compliance, fines, everything from that side, right? So as you can see, data protection, it can harm businesses in a lot of different ways. And that's where we're going to kind of talk through how encryption is that last line of defense, limiting attackers and what they're able to get if they do get inside, right? So our focus today is going to be the encryption only overview. So as you can kind of see right here, modern encryption compliance for proactive data protection, right? That's what we're dubbing it. Our approach is proven, right? We're one of the best in the industry. We've been doing it for 40 years. We have encryption that travels with the data. So it's continuous encryption at rest, in motion, right? There's no unprotected window. So our encryption ensures protection regardless of where that data resides or moves, while proactively presenting a breach in the event of exposure. The one thing that Ben will dig into a little bit more than I will is our certificate-free key management with smart keys. What that's going to provide is reducing overhead, making access seamless for those authorized users. So there is no reliance on third-party certificates. Smart Keys allows for seamless, secure data access for the end users without impacting any productivity. So it's simple, less headaches for the IT administrators, as well as for the end users who are digging into this day in and day out, right? Centralized protection. So no reliance on user behavior. We're all humans. We make mistakes, right? You have the ability to centralize that and automate policies within it. So companies can enforce encryption policies across the enterprise with minimal effort, right? The last one that I'll kind of dig into a little bit is audit logs for visibility. So we do provide verifiable audit trails that will save time on manual evidence gathering and enable early detection of anomalies, right? What does that mean for your customers? Less time prepared for audits, quicker time to detection. I think the average time to detection was around 234 days. This reduces that significantly. Last one then is contingency keys. So we do have contingency keys that allows the business operations, the critical ones and everything like that to keep running, even if the original keys or passphrases are lost. Think of it kind of like a safe, right? A safe that moves with the valuables instead of just locking the front door to your house. So it's there, we're future ready. I think NIST in 2024 finalized its first post-quantum standards. PKWARE, we already offer quantum readiness assessments so your customers can figure out, they're not only protected today, but they're prepared for tomorrow. So we do also have quantum encryption expected to be released in early 2026. All of that. This is why Atakama selected PKWARE as that trusted replacement. So whether your customers are encrypting dozens of files a day to millions of files a day, PKWARE has them covered. So I'm actually going to hand this over to Glennon really quick. He's going to talk through a specific use case with Pfizer to paint that real world example of how customers are using PKWARE today in terms of encryption.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen.
Yep.
So Fiserv is a large customer of PKWare's. You may not be familiar with the name, but you've probably used their technology before. If you've logged into your bank's website, if you've logged in via your mobile device, if you've used an ATM, Fiserv is the technology behind a lot of modern banking in the United States and globally that basically connects your transactions, card processing, with actually that visibility within your bank. So just know that likely you've used them and they have your data. So I think it's important to say how we protect that data. But at Fiserv, they noticed that there was some unstructured data. They've had a lot of acquisitions, but there was unstructured data that was unprotected in their environment. This is something all our customers see, and I'm sure yours do. So there's data sprawl around the organization, again, data moving in and out. And they were having a hard time with compliance and understanding where all that data lived and guaranteeing that it was protected. At that point, encryption was done manually, where users have the ability to right click, manually do it. Maybe there's BitLocker, so there's storage at rest and things like that. But there wasn't a good cohesive control over all that encrypted data. So what we did, we came in, as Stephen mentioned, they use our full data discovery, classification, and also encryption that we're able to do. We do this for 50,000 users, machines, and then also 1,200 servers. But we were able to show them where that sensitive data lives and then give them the ability to encrypt that everywhere with centralized policies, centralized visibility into those encryption actions, being able to even see what encrypted files are leaving the organization to make sure they should be able to, which is usually something that DLP can't do. But I think all in all, our capabilities, the smart keys that Stephen mentioned, they make this easy, and that's what Ben's going to focus on today. Fiserv does 1 million encryption actions a day. 1 million. It's a lot. So if you think about how that looks over a year and years with them being a customer of ours, we can help them at scale. We help them to save millions immediately and just making audits easier, making compliance easier to maintain. And then, cost savings over the years exponentially above that. So I know we're over halfway through here. So I just wanted to remind people, if you have questions, feel free to click the Q&A box below. But otherwise, Ben, I'll hand it to you for the demonstration.
All right. Thanks, Glennon. Thanks, everyone. So I am going to just share my screen here. And I'll make this kind of quick here because I know we got a tight timeline here. So can everyone see my screen? It should just be a Windows server with a couple of file explorers open. Yep, good. All right. So when you think about Atakama versus PKWARE, what's kind of the comparisons? What are the benefits of that you and your customers get, and so on. So everyone is pretty used to this format, right? You have a Atakama, it changes it to a .kama file. You double click this, you have to approve it on another device, right? Typically a mobile device. Well, so we are very similar in that our encryption is at that file level. So here's just a location that we are monitoring with our agent. So we are agent based, just like Atakama, right? As soon as I paste this in here, you're going to see that it was automatically encrypted. Now ours is a little different, right? We put it into a .zip file and we encrypt that file, but it's persistent just like Atakama. So if someone comes in here and tries to copy all this data off and whatnot, it doesn't matter. The encryption stays with it, right? Now, the difference really with between Atakama and us, though, is that we also come with a centralized admin console, okay? So what does that really mean? Well, our encryption is based off of what we call smart keys. So we integrate with Entra ID. And so what a smart key is, if you just look at this, is an encryption key here wrapped with access control, okay? So what that means is whoever is in this sales engineer group, if there's 5 users, 50 users, any device where those users are authenticated, so again, every agent is seamlessly authenticated with an actual user, those keys will automatically sync down to those agents, which allows them to utilize that key in encryption or decryption, okay? So in that example that I just kind of showed, if I have access to this key, I can simply double click this and it is going to seamlessly see that I have access to that key, decrypt that file, and then open it in that default application. So it's a PDF, so it opened it in Adobe, right? If it's a doc file, it's going to open it in Word, okay? Now, the other thing that we offer, which is similar to Atakama, is within here, we also have the ability to set up MFA policies. So if you want to be extremely secure, right? And let's say on decryption, you want to require someone to have to put in an MFA, we utilize that through policy. So you can manage that here. The benefit of our kind of MFA is we utilize and integrate with any TOTP provider. So you don't need a special app if you're using Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. Essentially, you will have to just put in that prompt before that file is decrypted, okay? So from a seamlessness, right, we are very much a silent encryption tool, okay? 2 other benefits that you get within this that Atakama does not offer. First is complete auditability. So every single action that happens by any agent within the environment sends back what we call data security intelligence events. So now with this upgrade or this new product, you essentially get auditability. So here's an encrypt that we did and who it was on, what was the file, what was the user, what was the key that was used, right? In addition to that, you will also get all these decrypts, right? So now you can really look at things like who's decrypting a lot of files. Is that suspicious? Is it not? But at the end of the day, everything is auditable within this system, okay? So very, very powerful for your teams and your customers to understand what's really happening from an encryption, decryption stance, okay? The last thing that I wanted to kind of talk about in terms of the addition that we allow you to do is everything within this environment, as I said, integrates with Entra ID. So one of the big benefits, if you remember, of this smart key and integrating in that way is that you have no manual or no additional effort to share keys to, let's say, new users or even pull keys away from users. So meaning, if someone was added to the sales engineer group in Entra ID within a sync cycle, which is typically about an hour, that user is already dropped into here. We see that they should have access to this key, and we're going to sync that key down to any agent that has that. So the big benefit here is that in addition to, obviously having the encryption key and managing the PKI, you really do not have to come back in here and change any of these smart keys as long as you're using those Entra groups, which is really, really beneficial, okay? All right, so that is really what I kind of had. I know it's kind of short and sweet, but I want to be conscious of time here. So I'm going to stop sharing here and I'll kick it over to Glenn here.
Yep. So I want to talk through, as partners, I want to talk through what it's going to be like for you to actually sell this. So we have replacement packages in place. I think the big thing for you is we're matching the Atakama annual subscription fee that the customers are already used to. We do have a minimum of $10,000. That's the MSRP to the customer. So as a partner, you'd get your standard discount off of that amount. to sell it. If it's 15,000, it would just be 15,000 to them, and then you get your discount from there. But there is that 10K minimum. This includes our standard encryption implementation. Ben's going to talk through that next, but we're actually doing that setup because, again, this is easy. We want it to be seamless, so we want that to be an easy transition for our customers. We are doing 3-year agreements, but we've been flexible on this. So as I mentioned earlier, the sunset for the Atakama platform is happening in February. But if their agreement already ended with them, they're allowing them to use it free through February. So we're essentially honoring that. So if they buy, we wouldn't have to start that subscription. And then if they're still paying for Atakama, if they're essentially still on that, if they're already off maintenance, they can just move forward with us today. But we can explain that in more detail on a one-off call if you'd like to have that. And then we do, as we said, this is encryption, but we also offer discovery and classification and masking and other solutions as well, and for other platforms besides where Atakama is currently being used. So we have a 25% discount for any upsell into those other capabilities within the first 6 months. So that's what I have. Ben, I'll hand it over to you to talk through services.
Yeah, so quickly, just what is it going to look like for your customers to transition off of Atakama onto PKWARE or PK Protect? So at a high level, there's about 5 steps. So the first thing is we will essentially send out a prerequisite document. This is really for setting up the PK Protect admin console. So as we mentioned, that's a hosted environment, that's SaaS. Okay, so PKWARE hosts that. There's a couple of prerequisite things that we need set up for, encryption policies and different key creations that we're ready to go. Right. The third step is really rolling out the agent. So just like I mentioned, like Atakama, we're an agent-based agent, so that has to be rolled out to end user machines or servers. Step 4 is really an Atakama process, but Atakama has delivered a mass decrypt functionality script. So we need to run that on all Atakama encrypted files. And then essentially what we will do is we'll point our PK Protect encryption policies at those same locations that were previously encrypted by Atakama, and we will automatically encrypt all that data. Okay, so typically that's a 1 to 2 week process. It's a very kind of easy process from our end. This is kind of our bread and butter in terms of our encryption, but that's what the implementation at a high level is going to look like. Okay.
Perfect. No, thank you for that, Ben. And knowing that we are running low on time, what we will do is follow up with questions that have been asked with you individually and post that after this, just so everyone does have visibility into any additional questions, kind of like create a little FAQ from that side. But to sum all this up, right? The risk is real. The market is growing. The PKWARE Atakama transition. We've been working with the Atakama team to be as prepared as possible to offer your customers that seamless transition to PK Protect, right? We're working with their founders, our Ben and his team. They're ready to hand that. They're ready for that smooth transition, and ultimately to make sure that your customers keep their encryption and increase the capabilities that they have, right? So lastly, just wanted to say, thank you to everyone for making the time to join today. Thank you, Glennon, as well, and thank you, Ben, for giving that walkthrough of what the product looks like. It helps kind of seeing the bread and butter instead of just hearing about it. So the last thing that I'll end with is we're here to help you all as our partners with sales collateral, enablement, documentation, right? We want to make sure that you are armed and equipped with what you need to help your customers make their decisions on their encryption needs and also that transition to PKWARE and PK Protect. So thank you all, and let's win this market together. Looking forward to the conversations, and we will correct me if I'm wrong, Glenn, and I think we'll send out a recording of this relatively soon, so you guys will all have access to that as well.
Correct. And we do have that in customer facing one as well. So
Yep.
If you need that to share with your customer base, whether it be directly related to Atakama or encryption in general, data protection in general, we're here to help.
Yep. Perfect. No, appreciate that. Yeah. And we're excited to partner with you also. You'll be able to reach out to Atakama at pkware.com, myself, Glennon, or Mary Clayton. We're here. So thank you, everyone, and hope you guys all have a good rest of your days.